Wow. This is at colliercast.com. An article called History is a Lie, Tartaria, Mudfloods, and a Cover-Up. And it begins, when most people think about history, they think of how boring it was in school. What if I told you there was an empire greater than Britain, greater than Rome? In fact, this empire is actually responsible for a lot of the culture we see across the world. This article will break down what this country was, what happened, and why it's covered up. Now, I was not able to find exact dates as to when this civilization, the civilization of Tartaria, was exactly established. But in the year 1252, Giovanni de Pian del Carpine wrote the book, or Carpina, the story of the Mongols whom we call the Tartars. In the very first chapter, he describes vividly the details about Tartaria, including the landscape, the people, the culture, and even waging war against them. Now, although it seems to be erased from history, it is very easy to find maps of Tartaria dating back centuries. When looking at these maps, you will see Tartaria. You'll see it makes up most of what is today Russia. This first map is supposedly from around 1492. It's hard to see, but if you look at northern Russia, you can make out the letters of Tartaria. But the more important part of this map is North America. It's hard to make out because the quality of the image is poor. But you'll see what looks like city names and landmarks in America in a map from 1492. That's incredible. The name that sticks out to me personally is Chicago, which is on the northeastern side of the United States in this map. Seems very odd that in roughly the same area we have a city named Chicago. The next map is apparently from 1602. The important thing about this map is that it shows the Great Wall of China on the border of Tartaria and China. The Great Wall is said to be thousands of years old. However, in the maps I could find of ancient China, there does not appear to be a wall before the 1600s. Let's take a look at one of these maps. Let's take a look at that one that supposedly has place names in America, in the United States. Boy, that's bad resolution. Let's see if we can increase this. Yeah, it looks like there's straight lines going through here. Yeah, it looks like that is labeled. I just see like an R maybe here. What about the next one? Not link. Oh, well, maybe. Tartaria. Oh, yeah, and there's the Great Wall. Isn't that cool? There's Tartaria. There's the Great Wall. Groovy. This map is apparently from the 1500s. When looking for this map, I specifically looked for a map of Asia. It just so happens that this map also shows Tartaria, bordering China. For civilization that has been erased from modern history, there's a ton of information out there, including the flag of the empire. Hope this is one picture. Empire of Tartary. So one is a griffin, one is an owl, and there's also two other flags here. Apparently a griffin, and I guess an owl over here. Yeah, I guess that must be an owl. It's owl-shaped. And yet a third version with a griffin and a bird that really doesn't look like an owl. Even their language and some writings can be found. It is said they were the influencers behind many cultures across the globe, from architecture that is found in Asia, America, and Europe, all the way to the traditional clothing worn. They are also said to be a civilization with no discrimination. And many sources say they had free energy. Now exactly what led to the fall of Tartaria is unknown, but there are theories. One of these involves a catastrophic event known as a mudflood. Finding detailed information on this event is very hard. Most posts and videos about the subject cover the same talking points, while others seem to have been taken off the internet. The common details found about this event are that it occurred between the 1700s and the 1800s, and that it was a worldwide event. There are many pictures you can find of what seem to be buildings that seem to be built in the ground, or where city streets are seen to be built on top of older city streets. From 1854 to 1929, an estimated 250,000 orphaned, abandoned, and homeless children were placed throughout the United States and Canada during the orphan train movement. This movement is said to be connected to the mudfloods, and many of these orphan children are said to be of Tartaria. This is because there's a huge lack of info explaining what caused the mass surge in orphans. This was the beginning of the foster program in the United States. Also, another thing to consider is around that time period, at least in the U.S., insane asylums were becoming popular. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that the people who claim to remember a time before the flood were brainwashed in government-run foster homes or locked up in an insane asylum for the rest of their lives. How horrible. The first piece of evidence that sparked the whole Tartaria theory comes in 1998, when the CIA declassified this document from 1957. And here's a quote from the document. And I've seen this. It's a CIA declassified document. One you can still own and store wherever you want. This document makes it clear that Russia is truly behind the historical cover-up of Tartaria. Now, it seems Russia most likely wasn't the only empire that had issues with Tartaria. If you recall one of the earlier maps in this article, you will see China was smaller than what it is today, and was also bordering Tartaria. In the 1850s is when we see China start to expand, as well as the introduction of the Mongols. So the fall of Tartaria may have come from a catastrophe that wiped out much of the population, and anyone who survived was indoctrinated with a new narrative. Or the growing powers of the elites, such as Russia, China, and maybe some hidden hands, finally became too great for the Tartarian Empire to defend against. This subject is the very interesting subject, or a very interesting subject. Well, that's about the most useless thing I've ever seen anyone write. My apologies to the author. Of course, the mainstream narrative will tell you that this empire never existed and the history books are all inaccurate. Or accurate. Yeah, mainstream narrative, accurate. But time and time again, we see that the deep state / shadow government / new world order has nearly perfected the art of misinformation and indoctrination. One thing that will always remain certain is that history will always be written by the winners, and the losers will rarely, if ever, get their story told. In the case of Tartaria, it seems they were an advanced civilization, in a time where no such civilization should have existed. Which makes one wonder if there were other advanced empires that we do not know about. Just think. We've all heard about Atlantis. Maybe that was another civilization ahead of its time, and due to unknown circumstances, disappeared, only to be remembered as a myth.